Hello everyone. I wanted to share my experience with 3D printing for RC. I have been into the RC hobby for about 3 years and decided about 8 months ago that a 3D printer might be a help to the RC building experience. By the way, this is not a video intended as a review of my 3D printer. There are plenty of great channels like Maker's Muse and Thomas and Latimer that review 3D printers, so I don't intend to get into that topic. My goal is just to share my experiences with the two hobbies and how I think 3D printing has helped me with RC, and hopefully provide some information that will be helpful to others. So let's get started. What I've learned first is 3D printing is a hobby. When you purchase a 3D printer, you're not buying a tool like a table saw that is ready to set up and will reliably do the job that's intended for. Just like building and flying radio control airplanes, multi-rotors, or helicopters, even if you buy a ready-to-run product, tinkering is part of the hobby. The same is true of 3D printers. Regardless of the printer you buy, be prepared to learn about the 3D printing hobby, the software, filaments, and so on, if you want to produce useful parts for RC. In my case, my printer benefited greatly from simple modifications like low-cost upgrades and my own learning to set it up, set temperature, speeds, and understanding the slicing and printing software. The second thing I learned is that you don't need a high-end printer to produce good parts. Most of what I print are small and in PLA. I did a lot of research before I bought my printer and decided that a $400 budget was a good maximum. Since I bought my printer in April of last year, a lot of sub-$400 printers have come on the market, but I still think the $400 price point is a good one for RC printing. Third, a reasonable build size and heated bed will add value to your printing for RC. Though most of what I print for RC would work on a smaller build plate, I have seen a benefit of a larger print volume and heated bed for certain parts and models. For example, this tricopter canopy and this bracket to hold my Taranis radio in its flight pad. I also found that some larger non-RC parts, like this iPad case, required a larger print bed. Though a heated bed may not be a requirement for PLA, I have found that it enhances bed adhesion with all plastics. Fourth, you don't need to print with exotic materials for printing useful RC parts. I have tried a number of different brands of filament and have pretty much settled on eSun PLA+. It is relatively inexpensive, it's tough, easy to print with, and has a lot of color choices. I also really like Matter Hacker's PLA Pro, but unless you find a discount code, it can be pretty expensive, and I'm not sure the premium price over eSun is worth it. I have used PETG for certain high-stress parts, but frankly, I think PLA Plus would have done the job. I've never had any reason to use nylon or ABS. Number 5, learning how to design your own parts is a must. There are a lot of RC parts available on Thingiverse, and I have printed a few of them and found them very useful. However, the real benefit of a 3D printer for RC is being able to design your own parts, either as a replacement or improvements to an RC model. I have found that complicated shapes are not usually required. You'll mostly need basic design skills and patience. These are just a sample of the things I've designed and printed that are currently in use on my RC craft. Number 6, you can print almost any RC part. Not electronics, of course, and I've not been successful printing propellers so far, but the more I print, the more I'm amazed at the complex shapes that are available. This entire plane was printed on my 3D printer. This was designed by 3D Lab Print. The STL files cost $20, but it has turned out to be a great flyer, and when I came in for a hard landing and cracked the fuse, I just printed a new one. Printing this plane required some experimentation, but it does demonstrate the possibilities of 3D printing for RC. Which leads me to number 7. Being able to print RC parts has dramatically improved my RC building and flying experience. I find that most models, even ready-to-fly ones, can benefit from custom RC parts. For example, I hated the wheels that came with this Pete and Paul camper. They were cheap and flimsy, So I printed a new set. I have used that wheel design for other planes as well. Of course, replacing broken parts is another key to 3D printing for RC. Crashing is part of flying. Motor mounts, control horns, camera mounts, multi-rotor canopies, skid plates, and so on. You know, when I cracked this wing holder on my Twin Star, I quickly made a new one and a spare and was back in the air in no time. Finally, I'll add one last obvious item. You can print other useful stuff besides RC parts. I don't think I would have bought a 3D printer just to print statues and other objects. But I have printed and designed some replacement parts and objects for the house. For example, a replacement for a broken grill handle, a bracket to fix a refrigerator shelf, a part to replace a broken griddle foot, and of course, some nice Thingiverse items for the grandkids and for the house. Anyway, that's been my experience. Bottom line, if you're into RC building, then you're probably already a tinkerer. 3D printing is a great addition to the RC hobby and well suited to tinkerers like me. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.